Hi, my name is Johan, and in this video I want to quickly explain to you what Near the Fire is all about. In this channel we'll be looking for the historical Jesus, the real Jesus, what he really taught. Not the Jesus that's been shaped by centuries of tradition, not the Jesus that's been filtered through the church, the one that walked, taught, that challenged and disrupted the world around him. I'll also be looking at some false teachings about Jesus and exposing those false teachings, especially those that cause us harm. In this channel, we'll be looking especially at the Gospels because we want to get as close as possible to what Jesus really taught. We'll focus on the Gospels of Mark, Matthew, and Luke, our earliest sources. But we'll also be looking at the Gospel of Thomas. Many biblical scholars now date the Gospel of Thomas at the same time as the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So we will be taking the Gospel of Thomas seriously in this channel. Now, why Near the Fire? The name comes from the Gospel of Thomas saying 82, "Whoever is near me is near the fire." You see, the teachings of Jesus will never be popular. It will never be mainstream because people like religion. They like their dogma and their doctrines and their boundaries, because that defines who is in and who is not, who is outside. But Jesus constantly broke down those boundaries, and that caused tension 2,000 years ago, and still today it causes tension. When you stand up for what Jesus really taught, you will face people that will not like what you have to say. You will face the heat. But remember, Jesus said, "Whoever is near me is near the fire." In the Gospel of Thomas saying 10, Jesus said, "I have cast fire upon the world, and look, I'm guarding it until it blazes." Fire represents rebellion. Fire destroys. Jesus came to destroy organized religion. Fire spreads randomly. The message of Jesus spreads randomly through his believers, not in an organized manner through an organization. Now, I was part of that organization. I was part of the church. I was this fundamentalist Christian that believed every single word in the Bible is the word of God. But then I started to pick up problems. I saw problems within the church and within the Bible. Things that bothered me, things that just didn't feel right. So I started this process of deconstructing my Christian faith. Now, it's not something that I chose to do. I believe that the Bible was the Word of God, so I studied it. If you really study the Bible, you will pick up problems, a lot of problems. And it got to a point where I could no longer ignore the things that I saw. And I had to take an honest, critical look at the Bible, at my faith. And when I did, it did not destroy my faith. It tested it. And whatever could not survive the fire, that was never from Jesus to begin with. What I was left with is something that was so much stronger, clearer, and focused on Jesus. And that is what this channel is all about. If you are searching for the truth, if you have questions, if you are willing to take a critical look at your faith, if you're willing to examine what you have been taught from childhood, then you might be closer to the fire than you realize. Welcome to Near the Fire. Thank you for watching.